Hello and welcome to the Learn How to See Better podcast, the only podcast out there known to actually improve your vision the longer you listen. This is your host, Drew Davis, and I'm glad you've joined me here today. I can't wait to share some great information with you about how to improve your health, wealth, and relationships. So let's get right down to it, shall we? Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Drew, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. I know that I'm having a pretty good day, and one reason that is I just got a new car today. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, pretty cool, but, it's interesting, the experience of going down to the dealership, and I was able to get in and out of there in 2.5 hours. I mean, from like walk on site to ride off in a new vehicle. 2.5 hours. Pretty good time, and I laughed to myself thinking back to the very first time I got a car. I was fresh out of college, had to buy a new car, had a new job. Such an exciting thing. Took my dad with me to go down there. I think we spent like all day long, and everything that you tend to hear about, oh gosh, I got to go down to the dealership and be down there all day long, boo-hoo, right? And it's funny because it gets me thinking about, why is it that people have such a negative connotation with, going to the dealership or even sales in general? Like, oh, I don't want to have to deal with some car salesman, like it's a negative thing. And it caused me to give some thought to the idea that you hear the phrase, some people would rather go to H-E-L-L than S-E-L-L, right? As though sales is so negative. But if you think about it, for anybody to get anything they want in this world, there's somebody selling something, right? From the car that I'm driving or the truck that I'm driving, to the house that I live in, to the roads that we drive on. You say, well, nobody sells roads. It's like, you don't think so? How'd that road get built, right? How'd it get paved? Somebody had to make the cement and the asphalt and the tar and the paint that lines the road, and somebody else, had to sell it to the city or whoever's building the road. So there's purchasing and there's acquisition, or there's buying and there's selling, right? That are just a part of every business transaction. So it shouldn't really be deemed as such a negative thing, especially when you think that most of us spend money like every single day. That means every single day we're buying something. So that has to indicate that means every single day someone else is selling you something, whether you view it that way or not. And I think that selling and the word convincing sometimes get unfortunately used interchangeably in an unfortunate way, right? Nobody wants to be pinned into a corner and forced to endure some spiel about this, that, and the other. Okay, you don't want someone to, twist your arm and convince you, but we all like to be sold. I'm quite pleased that, somebody sold me something today. I'm driving off in a new car, and hey, that's because a buyer and a seller were able to meet on terms. And that's why, I guess, part of why I was thinking about it, this would be something good to bring up, just with respect of learning how to see better, learning how to see a perspective on business and transactions and sales, right? Because if you really think about it, the mentality of just this experience I went through today, if I stayed dreading it and didn't want to talk to the salesperson, or wasn't willing to really go through part of the process of the sales funnel of that which is, getting a car, if you have all this negative energy that you carry into the experience, that energy is going to vibrate back to you. If the salesperson comes up to you and they're friendly and you're short and gruff and cut them off, like, I'm just looking, or yeah, let me talk to the manager. It's like, well, where do you really give them room to start trying to buddy up with you and build rapport and establish a relationship that's going to help make the business transaction that much more pleasurable? I know one of the first things I learned regarding the topic of sales was that people buy from people they like. I mean, my 5-year-old son can understand that. That makes perfect sense. So be likable. That's not that hard. All you got to do is be pleasant and not, intend to offend, and half the battle's done. But when you think about the experience, most people, they might go to a car dealership and have a bad experience because they're bringing negative energy, which has to do with a negative outlook or an outlook or vision on sales, and transacting with salespeople is something that has to be a negative thing. We had a great experience. Fresh-faced kid, we'd called ahead and we knew a couple levers we could hack. We'd done the research on in advance, and that is important to be an informed and successful consumer. It has to do with knowing what you want. And that, at the end of the day, is really the secret, right? It doesn't have to be this dance or duel, this deadly dance or duel to the death in this negotiation process. But we were very clear and very intentional. We lived with definiteness in general, so we had some very definite plans, and we basically made the call, said, hey, here's what we're trying to do, and if we can come to terms on that, we're ready to transact today. And I think we had called and talked to the sales manager. He's like, hey, you know what, that sounds reasonable, we're ready to play ball, and guess what, it's the last day of the month, so there's no way we're going to let business slip through our fingers. And what a refreshing intro, right? Nobody's here to play games, rub somebody the wrong way, lowball offer, make somebody get offended, or this back and forth. Like, hey, we're just trying to come to terms. We're being very upfront and telling you what we want. If that's agreeable to you, we can make that happen. We can do this today. There's no need for us to wrestle and dance and struggle and no, right? I think that situations where people focus on that, well, there's two types of people. Some people just love the sport and the spirit of negotiation and debate, which is all well and good. Especially see a couple people that are trained in the art of sales, and then kind of go back and make this quite the chess match, right? But one thing I can clearly say in my mind is that speed is important to us. And speed likes money. So a lot of times you can move faster through this world if you're just willing to cut the check, right? You can fly faster than you can drive, but it costs more to fly. You can take the boat, you can take the train. So you've always got options to get to your destination, but our destination is a larger vehicle that accommodates our family, and I'm willing to do X, Y, and Z to get it. And I understand I'm gonna have to reach into the pocket to make that happen, but hey, I'm prepared to do that anyway. So if I show my hand, there's no weakness there. From the standpoint of I'm presenting with good positive energy what my intentions are, and that my desired outcome is a win-win. And that's the piece I think that gets tricky, because a lot of people look at negotiations like it has to be a winner and a loser. How unfortunate. What a lackful mindset. Somebody has to win and somebody else has to lose. When you're looking at business transactions, I get it, it's different in sports. It's like nobody wants to watch a tie ball game. It's a winner and loser. But when you're talking about business, when you're talking about education, when you're talking about growth, when you're talking about people interacting, there does not have to be a winner and a loser. There can most certainly be two winners. And when you have that sort of win-win mentality, win-win or no deal, right? You can really take your negotiation skills much further, because even if you're far apart, hey, you got the opportunity to walk away. But if you're close, let's see what it takes to make this agreeable to both sides and find out what we can do to make it a positive experience for all. And that's what I was able to do today. There's minimal instances where there was idle time waiting around or anything like that. We were just very intentional, very clear. And we didn't BS, they didn't BS. There wasn't a whole lot of dancing. We got the deal done. If you argued, did we leave a nickel or two on the table? Maybe so, but I chalk that up to a convenience fee, because I don't know too many people get in and out of a car dealership with a brand new car in 2.5 hours. So not to say that anything we did was so super powered and unique, but it's not the most common thing. And I just didn't have the time or interest in doing the whole, well, I'm going to walk out and head to the dealership down the street, and the posturing. It is a part of the art and the dance and the sport of negotiation, and I can respect that fully. There are also times that I recognize where I'm not looking for that. I give up an extra grand to get in and out and on with my life, because I don't have the time luxury. I got my 4-week-old infant child with us while we deal with all this, and I'm telling them, look, this whole thing could get blown up in a heartbeat with one diaper blowout, but we'll stay as long as we can and finish business today. And if not, we're not bugging out over it. And luckily enough, my little buddy, he held it together pretty well, and we're super proud of him. But now he'll have a little more elbow room to spread out, and hopefully anyone listening to this will have a little bit more elbow room in their mind as they look at the landscape of negotiation and business, and how we look at sales and selling, and people that offer value in exchange for capital for a living, right? There's nothing in my mind that's sleazy or slimy about a person who participates in the profession of sales to feed their family. It's just the stigmas that exist with bullish, overpowering, convincing, stereotypical personality types, as well as people that do exist out there, and they're not all in sales, but that might lack morals and ethics. But you know what? I tend to have a positive outlook on our society, and I don't think that we're just endlessly corrupted as mankind, full of people that are just so immoral and unethical and doing things that are illegal. So if to try and look at the world through those lenses is most certainly a limiting belief that should be corrected by anyone if they want to have a better experience in life. But I thought it would be good to point that out, and it's not to say, woohoo, look at me, I'll teach you exactly how to get in and out of the dealership in 3 hours or less. No. Rather, it's to draw the parallels into light between something as simple as walking into the mall and buying a suit off the rack that fits your specs. You go into the dealership, I'm looking for this make, this model, this color, this size, this trim, this whatever. Here's what I got to put down on it, and here's what I'll pay a month. Let's make a deal. If we can find that win-win, we can move forward. Otherwise, no deal, and we can all part as friends. So I think that when we just look at how we interact with people in the world, it's one of those things that I'd hate to see someone get treated unfairly just because they have a certain honest and legitimate occupation. In this case, like I said, we had a fresh-faced kid that we were able to connect with. He's got his first child coming in a couple of weeks, so hey, he was able to get some commission that might go to diaper money, and it was fun being able to share a couple of tips about being a new parent with him that I think he had a good heart and was open to receiving. So that also made me feel good, just helping to shape someone else's vision, even if it's just me sharing my viewpoint, experience, and insights. But the gentleman did seem pretty open-minded to it as a young kid having his first little one himself. So with that, go out and have success in your relationships today and throughout the week. And remember that the outlook that we want to have is that which we should focus on, the outcome that we're seeking, right? I've always had the phrase I've said for I don't know how long: positive outlook, positive outcome. That is a lot of my philosophy on life in general, and I think that's very achievable. And it certainly goes into situations where if you're expecting or anticipating conflict in your communications or business dealings, it's just the wrong energy to bring, because you're bringing the wrong energy to the game. And if you're looking to get that sort of outcome, you got to bring better energy into it. So with that, I hope you found some value in this and maybe learned a lesson on how to see better. And until next time, wishing you all the best in health, wealth, and prosperity. Thanks. See ya. Well, all right. That was some great content, wasn't it? Why, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you liked it. This is your host, Drew Davis, and I want to thank you for listening to the Learn How to See Better podcast today. And don't forget to subscribe and tune in for future episodes, and be sure to share with a friend if you are enjoying this content. Thanks, and see you next time.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.